Okay, welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, July 15th, 2013. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
My job.
First item on the agenda is the discussion of the car show permit request. Is there anybody here from Imperial? Possibly. Ah, perfect. Come right on up, Kevin. We were just starting.
All right.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. So, just getting ready for the car show on August 16th. The original, when we had discussed this last week, we originally got the application. There was obviously a lot of information flying around about possibly having Aerosmith at the show, and I think that in the discussions that I had with you post that meeting, that it's more or less, a rumor. So I just wanted to. That was the original request to have you guys come in, because we never had that item on the agenda, on the list before, so.
Yeah, so Aerosmith is about $1 million. And if everyone wants to chip in, we could probably get them. So I don't know that they're coming unless someone else arranged that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm certainly not going to pay for them to come here.
Understood.
We'd love to see them. But that isn't part of the plan.
Okay, and I think that, like I said, the original request was a concern of that, just with the capacity that we could handle. And so, again, I don't know how much more is necessary for this evening for discussion, only for the simple fact that you're going to have the car show as planned, as we have in the past years.
And just to be very clear, in talking with Ernie, whatever he thinks we need for police officers, whether it was 100 or if it was 400, not for Aerosmith, again, to repeat myself, they're not
To your
coming.
point, I'd say I'm less concerned with Aerosmith or whatever. I'm just, that rumor just got me thinking about, we had, 30,000 approximately? What happens if that doubles, right? I don't care for the reason why it would double, but are we, and I think one of the things we wanted, I don't know if anyone from public safety is here to speak to it, but are we, prepared and ready to, take on any outcome, so to
I
speak?
think the bottom line is only so many people can get into town.
Right.
Denny, you wanna come up just for-
We got bottlenecked last year,
Yep.
and people were still coming in when we were pretty much done for the evening because they had been in traffic for so long.
Right.
So I didn't know that many more than that could really get in. I can understand the concern if Aerosmith were coming and there was this free Woodstock going on. We started sleeping in the fields and everything.
Right.
But we don't have a concern for that, and I think after coming here tonight, one of the newspapers or something will pick it up, and then Ed Thompson will pick it up, and it'll end the rumor.
Perfect. But I knew, again, and just for the folks out there that are here and also at home listening, there has been weekly meetings with the police department and public safety in regards to the car show, or to the show, that we are prepared and preparing for for the influx of people that will be coming.
Yes, we are. We've had weekly meetings with Imperial. We have, as of right now, scheduled for 100 officers to be here. We are planning for 3 lanes on Route 16, 1 for the trolleys, 2 for traffic, west and east. So, and officers stationed throughout Route 16 and in front of Imperial, plus several officers inside Imperial patrolling. So hopefully the 3 lanes will alleviate the traffic, and we're going to have message boards advising commuters that there is a car show up ahead, maybe seek an alternate route. If not, they're going to be stuck in traffic. We'll do the best we can.
Will we be putting those up probably prior to the event as
A week
well?
before, we're going to start doing that. I just had an email from Hopedale, they're going to start putting theirs up also, so we'll get some from the state, we'll get some from the area towns, whatever we can do to alleviate traffic. Next week, I'm meeting with Alan to see if we can put some signs up around town, maybe alleviate the Southwick's traffic, and reroute traffic around.
The plan, again, as in past years, would be the field for parking as well as the other locations that you've used.
Well, we
in the
didn't come
past.
and ask you guys yet, but we would like to use, yes, that field again and trolley people in and if
Go ahead.
if there were anything else that you thought that we could do to help make it safer or make the traffic flow better, please let us know.
Yeah, as far as safety is concerned, I don't know that we've had any issues in the past years. Everything seems to have run smooth. I don't, small, minor issues that you will always get with a crowd of people of that size. Other than, trying to build a bypass road over the town, we just, our infrastructure is what it is, and we'll do the best we can to handle it. I know I think it's a great event for the town. It really does, it's a great community event that really, is put on in a great way. So I don't, you've always had the bases covered, so I don't foresee any ideas that I would have, like I said, other than being able to build a bridge over the town for the people that don't want to come to see it, so.
Yeah, to me, it's more the unforeseen, right? So if you look at past years, it's been a great event, and I echo your comments. I enjoy it as well. So from a liability perspective, so with the permitting process, there's a level of insurance that's already covered, correct?
Well, and Imperial always sends us.
Yep. Right. So to me, it's once again, if things, the problem with, it's maybe hard to put the genie back in the bottle, right? Regardless of if our friends in the newspaper say they're not coming, there are enough people out there that might have heard it and said, well, I'm going anyway, just to be sure. So to me, at this point, it's more about the unforeseen, right? Potential in terms of volume. So I think we got to move ahead with it, but I'm curious if there's, I know we've had some conversations around indemnification on behalf of the town, because the permitting process in and of itself has sort of safety, protects the town in terms of, tort law, things like that. But I think Mendon Public Safety is really coordinating public safety on the event, so the town is now becoming more involved. So that may negate the natural built protection to the town just through the normal permitting process. So that's why I wanted to kind of make double check sort of how the insurance waiver is laid out, and if we're I think we are covered by that, the town itself.
It showed as the town of Mendon was holding.
Okay, and
I would just, if there's a concern, we'll run it by council. I don't foresee a problem. Although at this stage, public safety is, attending meetings for the event. They're essentially subcontracted by the dealership, because the dealership's paying them for the details. So we're not providing the police department, we're
Right.
providing the tools that the town has, but they're being, again,
That's fine.
purchased by.
I think those details we should all just bounce up against town council, and so what we do tonight would be, pending a quick review. I know Brandon's already looking at it, so we can follow up with Brandon directly tomorrow.
Anything further?
Is there any questions out here?
Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay. Oh, we do have one.
I attended last year, and I think the internal part of it was fine, the police part, the patrolling in the streets was fine. Is anything being done on security? As we've seen demonstrated in the not-too-recent past, there are some idiots out there.
Yes, but we do have something going on, we're working with Imperial on something, but we'd rather keep it, to ourselves right now. If there's something happens, we don't want to give our plans out.
So there's a plan in place to deal with idiots.
Right.
All right?
Yeah. You might see a few vans around from the sheriff's department, stuff like that, but we do have a plan, we do have extra police officers, and we do have a plan.
But I mean, I do think
I
that
think
last
you were there
question
when we
is the
talked about
spirit of
some of
why
the
we want to talk to you, just to make sure everyone's on the same page.
We don't serve alcohol, and we don't intend on that. I'm not saying that someone can't get a beer in the diner, but they can't get more than 3 beers in the diner. And it's so busy that night, that no one's really drinking, even in there. And I think the alcohol is where the problems come from. I think it's more of a family event. It's as many kids as there are adults, that's for sure.
Yeah, we didn't have any problems at all. We had one call during the car show, and it had nothing to do with the car show. It was a domestic, unrelated to what happened.
Understood. All right. Any further, Mr. Willoughby?
Was it definitively stated that Aerosmith will not be there?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing, yeah, that they will not be.
Deferred.
Okay.
For definitive, declarative statement.
Yeah, definitively, unless they decide to come. And I didn't invite them, they're not on the agenda. I don't think they're coming, I don't think the Jaggy's coming. I don't think any of them are coming, I don't have anybody coming, I don't know them. I haven't talked to them about it.
Why would you think they'd be coming?
I would. I don't think they're coming, I said that. You wanted to know if it was definitive. I'm not sure what they're doing that day. On their website, it says they're gonna be in Japan.
I appreciate that. I'm just going to point out that you did not make a definitive statement.
I'm sorry, I thought I did. If it wasn't definitive, they're not coming. Sorry if I misled anyone there.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything, any other questions? Okay, do you have a motion?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, I move to allow Me and Automobiles 8 Exford Road to hold a car show on Friday, August 16th from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. pending insurance waiver reviewed by Town Council. Vendors must apply to the Board of Health individually for food permits. Second.
And so we just want to put it, pending routing slips and, just further the final review by council.
So pending the review by council and attainment of all proper routing slips.
As amended, any further discussion?
One thing, I just want to say that this is more about, I don't care about Aerosmith, this is more about a very large event in a very small place, and this is about the things we don't know. So for whatever reason, we get a 50,000 instead of 30,000 like last year, I just want to make sure the town is adequately covered in terms of security, safety, infrastructure, and I think, I'm guessing the insurance waiver that comes with the permit will cover most of that, and we'll wait for word back from council on their recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can translate my handwriting if you need it later.
Next item on the agenda is discuss activity at 179 Blackstone Street. Mr. Usher, if you'd like to come up.
How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
Yourself?
Very well, thank you.
This is just my copy of the letter we received, and then the minutes of the Concom that Diane had sent us.
Actually, Mr. Icardi, would you like to come up? Oh, I'm sorry, you know what, no, come on up. Mr. Mandalia is here from the Conservation Commission.
I think we got some people that actually, I think Sharon Luttrell's here, and if they want to come up or want to ask questions later. How you doing?
Is Sharon Luttrell here?
I also have company.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
come up too?
yep, please, come on up and join us.
I can,
Yeah, right over here.
you
Thank you
just-
so much.
can you set some context on this for the discussion? Can I set some context on this?
I'm pretty sure Smith won't be at the Blackstone or Chapin Court area.
All right, great. Well, you never know.
So the board received a letter just outlining some questions, concerns over some activity on the property. Just wanted to take the opportunity to really close this out because it feels like there's been a lot of interactions within the municipality between yourself and maybe Concom, things like that. So really the objective to this is to kind of, address some of the questions, concerns that have been outlined to the board and make sure we close out and follow through on sort of the questions being asked here. And I think we got the right people here to start and answer those questions.
Do you want to start with the conservation, because that's when it first started?
Yes. The Conservation Commission received a complaint.
Just pull it closer, if you don't mind. I already forgot.
Very quickly. The Conservation Commission got a letter, a complaint about some activity going on at 179 Blackstone Street concerning the wetlands and cutting trees down. I personally did not go to the site, but one of the other members did, Peter Coffin, went to the site and looked at it and come back and reported to the rest of the board that Mr. Russia was cutting some trees down and whatnot, but it looked like there was nothing that would enact the Conservation Commission to do any action therefore.
It was outside of any of the buffer zones?
Well, I'm not sure, again, I didn't visit the site.
Oh, okay.
I'm just reiterating what a member went down, Peter Coffin, who's very sensitive about
Yes.
about wetlands.
Very.
Went down and looked around, and I think he came in from the other side and looked around and pretty much said that he was cutting some trees down, but nothing that warrants any action from the Conservation Commission. As you know, Tim is also a member of the Conservation Commission, and he was aware of it, and
I was at the meeting when he reported back.
You just
And
find that
I think
before.
I think we had the minutes. Do you have the minutes?
Minutes here.
You need a copy for reference?
Sure. Let's see, this was October 27th, 2011. So we received a phone call, like Mike said, and Peter is the agent that went out. And basically, as far as cutting trees on your own property, you're allowed to cut trees on your own property no matter what. Now, if the wetlands are involved, the act states that you are able to cut trees in the wetland, but you have to use best management practices to either cross a wetland. It's either got to be in the dry season, or it has to be, on the edge of the wetlands, not to disturb the wetlands to the best of your ability. That's how the act basically reads. And when Peter came back and reported back, he said that, he did cross a intermittent stream, which is a stream that dries up. And he crossed it in one area and was cutting wood. And in his estimation, it was the least intrusive, entrance to it. So that's how that ended. But it did get brought to our attention, and it was on the agenda of a meeting. Now, I don't recall if any residents were present. Were you present at that? I don't know who called and mentioned it to us or not. It doesn't get, it's not an advertised thing, but if someone calls with a concern, they usually come to a meeting just to see, how the concern was answered. It's not something that you advertise. We advertise notice of intents, which are disturbing the bordering vegetated wetlands. So if someone's doing work in that area, they file an order of conditions with the state, and then it gets advertised, and so many people in a radius get notified by the assessors, and they're invited to attend just to see what's going on near them. So this isn't something that triggered that, but if anyone, like I said, was concerned about the work or the complaint or the work being done in a wetland, I mean, it would be normal that they would show up just to see what's going on next.
Just kind of curious, I think what you're getting to is more process from a municipality standpoint, is how do we receive and respond to citizen questions, inquiries, things like that. And so one thing I want to recommend out of this is that actually Fortunately, this is more work for Diane, but there'd be more formal written response because it came to the board that we kind of circle back and address these items that have been brought up, so.
Just to clarify, again, with talking about wetlands, there is wetlands there at the front of his property. Blackstone Street goes down, I believe it's right at the end of Blackstone Street before it turns into the town line.
Yeah.
Blackstone Street goes right through what, if you look at the old maps, is called the Dam Swamp. And as you're leaving town, on the left-hand side, on the property on the left-hand side, there's a big ledge outcropping and maybe 60 feet of swamp to the ledge outcropping, and then juts up. And on the right-hand side, which is part of Mr. Rush's property, is a wetland that goes down further and I believe goes all the way over to the Wood Estates subdivision in the back end of the property. But further down, there is a stream down there, there's a big culvert in the road. Alan could, I don't see Alan here, Alan, a highway surveyor, has built that part of the road up. So that every once in a while, the road will not flood over. In the 30 years that I've lived here, that road, Blackstone Street, has been flooded over with at least a foot of water 4 or 5 times in the past 30 years. So Alan has lifted that road up, which in turn blocks the water and makes it back up, I believe, all the way over to...
I'm just picturing Alan lifting the street right now. So, just a question for me, in terms of Conservation Committee, right? So, it sounds as though that, is there anything that's pre-work, or is it always post? Once something's done, do we go in and see was anything, is there any action that's supposed to be taken before work is done within wetlands? Because when we put our deck in at my house, we got, the contractor was asked very specifically, where's the dirt going for the pilings, things, to that degree, and I'm sitting there going, I actually felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, so for instance, well, and you can correct me
It
if I...
depends, like a lot of people's homes in town have had engineering work, ones that were built in the last probably 15 or 20 years. So a lot of times we can look up in the file. Diane used to be involved in the...
I'll leave her out of it,
yes.
Look at her. She's
Well, you stole her.
I happen to have
So what they do is basically, we can look up and see if there was any wetlands at the time. And then if you're doing a project, it's a real good reference for us.
Right.
We don't have to, the homeowner doesn't have to pay for a lot of engineering and stuff like that, because a lot of times we have it on file, so that helps a lot.
That usually happens when a homeowner or a property owner is doing something that requires a contractor that he has to pull a building permit.
Okay.
But
Triggers it right away.
Okay.
Absolutely, but right away...
That makes sense.
You as a homeowner
Right.
in this town want to walk out onto your property and cut a tree down.
Right.
Or trim some bushes, you do not have to call the building department or the conservation or get a special variance.
You don't want me cutting down trees.
To trim your,
I'll hurt
to
somebody.
trim your bushes.
Do you have to notify the building department if you put a pool in?
Let's stay on point
There's-
for 1 second, because we're still on the conservation
Right.
situation for one moment. So, at this point, the conservation, there's no conservation issues taking place on that property.
Not that I know of.
Not when the issue was brought to our attention.
And what I like to recommend is, I think there's 3 or 4 specific things we'd want to cover. And I think we just covered the first one, right? In terms of the cutting of wood.
Well, I think that the first one would be conservation, and secondly, I think the second item is the fact that you can cut trees, so that issue. Now, the third issue, I believe, is it noise?
Well, I'm looking at heavy construction as stated here. It's a description used there, but there has been some buildings, tennis court, and swimming pool, which I think is probably going to your question.
Okay. So you want to move to that one next?
Yeah, and I think your idea on, permits trigger that pre-review that I asked about. So, the permitting process for this development? I mean, Tim, from your standpoint, this might have been before you were actually here.
It definitely was, but I was just made a, Gene sent down an email, and it showed items that are on the property that were not permitted, but are being assessed, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, she sent an email down to the building department showing several items that were on the property that there was no, she gets notified when a permit is pulled.
Right.
It goes up to her department, and she makes sure that the taxes are current and everything before we issue anything. And so she's never seen any paperwork regarding permit, regarding any work being done on the property for several items, and I think you were CC'd on the email. So, as far as those items go, I did look in the file before I came here, and there are several permits in there for, he got a variance for, is it a second dwelling?
Yes.
Okay. And
Well, they're on
how many
two-
acres do you have?
They're on two separate lots now, so that's...
Right, that's what it was a
It's
variance.
19 and a half acres.
Okay, so
Total.
they split it, and he got a variance. That's in the folder. There's a, I think, a garage permit or a barn permit.
Cabana and pool.
Okay, all right,
collectively.
that's what it is. But there
That was
was,
1999, maybe.
yeah, I don't really know exactly. There's a
Long
few
time
permits, but there are items in there that were not permitted, as far as in the file. Now, I don't know, beyond that, some of our files are a little sketchy, but for all in all, they're pretty good.
So obviously, if there was no permit pulled for it, then there would be no inspection of the
That's what,
facilities.
that's what Gene made me aware of. There was a tennis court. Gene,
The only permit, other than the two house permits that I found, unless the building department did not forward it to me, was for a pool with a cabana. There's a large detached garage, there's several sheds, there's tennis courts. I cannot find any permits in my files on any of those structures.
Okay.
so I don't know if any of them were any of them pulled, do you know?
I can look into it, depending on what you're talking about, but I didn't know I needed a permit to put a tennis court in.
As far as a tennis, you really do, anything to improve your property.
To put asphalt down?
Well, you know what, it triggers conservation, so you have to go to conservation to make sure you're the
Wasn't
correct
within the buffer,
distance.
though.
What's that?
It's not within the buffer.
Well, that's fine, but
Okay.
there's a process to it.
I was surprised if you put a
Yeah.
basketball court in your backyard or something flat that I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's not a structure, really doesn't require inspection.
Okay.
Stop putting the fence up.
That's not a
and
big
stuff
deal.
like
If you
that,
guys
you
need
know.
me to get a permit for that, I will.
No, I don't, so, I mean, at this stage of the game, it's done, I don't know if it requires a permit or...
Well, he's being taxed on it.
Right.
But there should be some kind of a plan that reflects what's on his property.
Right.
Yep.
So we want to button it up, but I'm not sure. It sounds like what's done is done, as long as we're,
Well, I think granted, if there's some paperwork that wasn't filed correctly or missing or whatever, obviously you definitely didn't pull one for the tennis court, to your knowledge, so that's fine. I think that at this
just-
stage, if you can look and see if you have any permits for the other ones that we might be missing,
Yeah.
again, we didn't have the, and it's, tennis bed.
As far as the tennis court goes, you know what, it is a permittable,
Mm-hmm.
but you know what, we check for it, make sure it's far enough away from the lot line, that it meets zoning,
Yeah.
conservation is satisfied, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's just a dollar amount
Yeah.
as far as the construction, but, we, just so it's not, doesn't make your lot non-conforming.
All right.
Hold on one second. So, just to finish what I was saying, that if there's anything that we haven't inspected, by all means, let's maybe just get an inspection done of it to make sure if they're done properly. I don't foresee that they wouldn't be. I know that
If you have any copies of permits, and if you want
I'll-
to bring
I'll
them
look through
down,
my-
we can go down,
yeah.
we can list out, if you have sheds over 200 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
those are permittable. A garage or a pool, I'm not really, was there a pool on there?
There was
Yeah.
a pool permit with the cabana.
Okay, so, whatever items are open, let's get
Yeah.
together, and, we'll get a permit for them, and get them
So-
all legitimate. and-
Okay, so if we could clear up those items with the building department, I think that'll satisfy that. If there is corrections that needs to be made, just if you could work with them to
Assuming
get
they're far
that
enough
to
away from the
happen.
lot line, you get 19 acres.
Yeah,
Now, and again, I don't know that, out of this discussion, I think that probably the fact that we were missing some permits may have come out of this, but I really think that their concern was of the tree cutting, which again is not, you have the right to do it, so I'm not even going to discuss
Well,
it.
I started in August, and I got a complaint.
Yeah, it was me. I
Okay,
complained.
all right. And so what I did is, I went down there 2 times. I went down, I'm not sure if it was your driveway. Can I see
I don't
through your
know.
driveway where an open area of trees? Is it 4?
It was probably 3.
Oh, 3, okay. I went down there, and there was nothing going on, because there was a complaint about noise, and I did have a conversation with you at the time. So I went back another time, there was nothing going on. So, I then, time went by, I got it just recently, we got another complaint about a horrendous noise. It was a Saturday, is that correct?
Yeah, a Saturday and a Monday.
Okay, so I contacted Mr. Usher, and I asked him what was going on, and he told me what he had an opportunity to bring in a machine that crushed up a lot of rock on his property. He stated that he didn't have a rock crushing operation. He had the opportunity to get a machine, and he did it. He didn't know he was doing anything wrong. It wasn't something that was staying. It made a lot of noise, disrupted some people, obviously, and that's why I contacted.
Was it within the time frame of?
It was more of a, I don't know what the operation.
It was after 7 a.m., right?
You would know better than me.
Saturday during the day.
And then a Monday during the day?
And Monday was before noon.
Before
But
noon.
Saturday, like I said before, it's his property. If he wants to cut down the trees, that's up to him. And what you want to do on a Saturday in your backyard is up to you. But Monday was very, very loud, and you just can't get any work done if you're...
Well, you also was
close.
very loud Saturday. I don't know if you were home, but
Well,
it was, we couldn't think. And couldn't have our windows open, and there
You
was
can imagine
dust.
crushing stone. It's
Yeah.
really
It's a
loud.
really loud process.
I know, we crushed stone, I know exactly how loud it is. But there's nothing to say, as far as construction or whatever word you want to use to call it, if it's done after 7 a.m. and before 7 p.m. in the town of Mendon, I mean, blasting's loud too, but sometimes you got to blast ledge to build a subdivision. I would assume that, even probably the subdivision you guys live in at one point had to have some crushing going on.
If it was done in the process of building something, by all means, you're doing something to your property, you have the right to do that. He wasn't doing it as a commercial operation, so it's a non-issue, but, it was a temporary thing too. So, if it was something that he was gonna do, if it was his crusher and he was gonna leave it there, then he's in violation. But he's really not,
Can I say something?
Sure.
I think that the heart of this is what's going on at the property, because there's an awful, and this has been going on for at least 2 years, an awful lot of activity there with heavy equipment coming in and out, and backup beeps, and front-end loaders loading logs into pickup trucks. And it's disruptive, and we're afraid that what's happening is it's not only affecting our quality of life, but it's hurting our property values, because it's a residentially zoned property. That doesn't appear to be, the activity is not what you would typically expect in a residentially owned property. And 7 months out of the year, I sent pictures, I don't know if you saw them, but I also brought them in case, you don't have the pictures. There's an enormous pile, it's not even a pile, it's like a mountain of wood that is, again, affecting our property values, and we're afraid is causing a safety hazard.
And he has a beautiful property, but on the backyard, it's just an enormous thousands, or at least hundreds of cords of wood strewn across the back property.
We saw the pictures that were circulated.
You saw the
And
pictures?
it's,
Did you see the pictures? Because I have them here. You did.
I mean, if he wants to have wood for personal use, that makes sense. You figure personal use would be 4 or 5 cords of wood, and, like I said.
But there isn't anything that says, okay.
Well, there's a difference between industrial zone and residential.
But there's also a difference, there's people that I've lived near in my life that I don't like how their yard looks.
Yeah.
You know something? But whether or not you can't make somebody
Those are the piles.
clean up, maybe he likes the way piles of wood look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? and as far as if there's a commercial entity going on there, okay, now we have an issue. We've discussed and have come to the conclusion, and from what we have to go on as far as our inspectors are concerned, that there isn't.
Well, I asked him the question. I said, what are you doing with wood? I think you, at one time, you were trying to sell it, but he said he's consuming the wood on site.
I use a majority of the wood that's brought in, and I could tell you why I bring the wood in. I have an opportunity to purchase wood already cut and split, and I have to buy a certain amount of that wood in order for me to buy from this company. They're not going to sell to a person for 5 cords of wood. I burn in excess of 25 cords of wood to heat my home and heat my hot water and take care of my house. So I buy more than that because for me to get this situation from this company, I must buy that much. So the only other alternative to doing that is to bringing a processing plant that I own, that I don't keep on site, and bring it to that location and cut more trees, which if you've seen in the last 3 years, after I cut those trees, I haven't cut any trees. I've been using wood from other sites and bringing it in and just letting it sit. Probably about 8 weekends a year, we might take 6, 7 loads a day out, and sometimes 2 loads, but 6 or 7 loads a day. It takes 10 minutes for the backhoe to load the truck. So it's about an hour to an hour and a half per day of machine work, loading a truck that takes it wherever it takes it.
But isn't that a commercial operation then?
Well, no, it's kind of out of necessity. Now, if I bring the processing plant in, I'm gonna be out there for 8 to 10 hours a day, every Saturday for maybe 10 to 12 Saturdays, running that at 8 hours straight with a diesel engine that drives the processing plant to manufacture or process enough wood just for my own personal consumption. So, now the hours,
Can we move the wood that's currently in your backyard to the place that's currently processing the wood as a storage facility?
no, because the place that processes the wood isn't my place to have it, I just have it stored there. So, in order for me to process my wood, which the source is my backyard, I'd be cutting a lot more wood, and that would be one wide open area out to the back, because I go about another 600 feet back and about 800 feet off to the other side. And it would become just a wide open area, because I'd have to cut it all. So right now, it's a lot easier and less of a mess and less noise, actually, than it will be if I have to stop buying from the source that I have.
If I can just jump in for a second, because I think the question on the table, is there a commercial operation running? What I'm hearing is no, but just so I understand what is happening, you did some initial cutting of trees on your own property.
Yeah.
This is all used, personal use, heating your home, but rather than cutting more trees, you're now bringing wood in, which is the noise I think you've heard in terms of trucks coming on site, things like that, as well as to get that wood you've bought ready to be used in your home, you are then loading it onto trucks, bringing it somewhere to be prepped, and then brought back to your house.
No, it comes in all prepped, but I have to load trucks to bring it to where the boiler is, to feed the boiler during the course of the year.
Okay,
And
so
then
just purely on your
surplus-
property, you're going from point A to point B on your property
Right.
to get wood from...
A lot of it just goes right to where the boiler is that I have to fill twice a day. Then the surplus of that amount, because I have to buy 100 cord.
You're storing the surplus based on you buying in bulk.
Right,
That's the storage pile on the back?
you're correct.
I mean, how many cords do you have back there?
There's 100 cord that we brought in.
There's gotta be more than that. It's a pile
This is-
taller than a man. I mean, it's...
I know what it looks like. I
so-
can go from that side.
Yeah, it looks really,
And that's
it
what I
looks
look at,
bad.
6 months a
Well, you
year.
shouldn't
Yeah.
walk through all the woods there. It doesn't look like that from your yard.
Oh,
It does,
absolutely it
looks like...
does. You come to my
look
yard
out
and
my-
you see.
Come out of my
Yeah.
house, my back deck, it looks like that.
It does?
6 months out of the year, and you have a beautiful front of the house.
So, okay, what I really want to do is waste less time in this meeting and see what we could do to resolve the problem. Now, okay, the noise is an issue, but like I said, it's probably less noise. So is the biggest issue the visual problem that you guys have?
Totally. That's
Okay.
mine, I don't know about Sharon's, but mine...
So if I took the time and said to you, listen, I don't want to have any people that are upset, I don't want you guys to ruin the quality of life, I want you guys to be able to live a good life, I would be willing to go plant maybe 50, 75 white pine saplings. They're going to automatically grow anyways over the next few years, but I can get out there and plant some trees that within a couple of years, they'll be 6 feet tall, and that'll blind you year-round because it's a pine. It won't drop its needles. You won't be able to see through there. I mean,
The problem with that is that our property's elevation is higher than yours. So we had a contractor come in recently to give us a price of doing the exact same thing, as putting in pines. The problem is, for me, at the second level, looking out my back deck, it's just a sea of wood, you know? I mean, I just find it hard to believe that that much wood is necessary to, to heat a pool or heat a house.
I heat
hundreds.
both houses with it.
Mr. Randall.
It's okay. I'm here to represent the Conservation Commission. What's happening here now is beyond the scope of what I'm here for. So if you need any more comments from the Conservation Commission, I'd be happy to, but if not, I would like to leave because this is a problem that the neighbors should take outside and work it out. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
this is no longer even an issue for the Board of Selectmen. I'm telling you, this neighborly disputes are definitely only something that can be, unless there's something illegal going on the property that we cannot see, prove, or find, that even, for the people where I bought my house up here on North Ave, for 30 years, the two people fought. The house that I bought, the house on each side, they fought for 30 years. The cops were there at least every other month, if not every month. They fought for 30 years. The house, in my opinion, was in such disarray, and there was so much junk. We took out 5 40-yard dumpsters full of scrap metal and all kinds of stuff that you couldn't even imagine.
Was it like that when you bought it?
It was like, I bought it like that, and I got rid of everything when we bought it.
So when people moved in, the 3 properties...
No, I'm sorry, hold on. I bought it, it was like that, and I cleared it out. But for 30 years, the people that lived on either side of that had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay? So all I'm saying is that there's nothing, I cannot sit here and say, go move that pile of wood or plant some trees so that these people don't have to look at it. This is something that you guys have to come to an agreement on with each other as best you can to keep the peace. I really, there's nothing that we can do.
And I want to go back to the original objective here, and that's to make sure that the board received a letter.
Yeah.
We wanted to follow up and follow through on specific things being cited. We've done that. There is no noise statute, number one. There is not a commercial operation being run based on Mr. Usher's stating that. The permit issue is in the past. Tim's going to follow up on that to make sure we got all the right buffer and permits and make sure everything's checked out that way. I would ask that going forward, that if you intend to do any more building, check with Tim first, say, hey, do I need a permit, right? So we're not doing this back review, and that will trigger the Concom review of the site if the permit's pulled.
Conservation will investigate any complaint brought forward to them.
So,
I believe.
Mr. Usher, I invite you over to my house in November when the leaves come down. You get a chance to see it, and we could take a look at it. I just assumed it had to be a commercial operation because it's not industrial zone, but you've got enough firewood there for, 20 years, from a layman's perspective anyway. If there's anything we can do to clean up 2/3 of it and get that moved offside, I think that would be very helpful.
We could talk about this outside of the meeting.
That's fine.
I think that's the best advice
Yeah,
that we've got.
again, I would just suggest, knowing what I walked into when I bought my house and seeing what people had to deal with for 30 years, my only suggestion is try to find, whether it be a middle ground or a reasonable solution for each other. Everybody's entitled to do what they want on their own property and also, enjoy their property. Again, your enjoyment of property may not be what the neighbor's enjoyment of property is, so I would just suggest as reasonable people to just come to a reasonable solution with each other, and try to help each other out on it. That's my only suggestion. Thank you.
and I'd like to thank everyone for coming.
Yes.
Because I do think that following through on some of these, we get something in writing with this board, we're going to follow through on it and make sure there is a closure to it. So I do, even though everybody's here, I still think we're going to send something back out summarizing what we discussed in terms of the reasons whys, where-tos, and all that stuff.
I think one suggestion, maybe just all meet one afternoon and kind of walk through each other's property, zigzag across, so you can get different views of it, to maybe you're not seeing it from that angle, you might say, oh, you know what, maybe you're right. Mr. Amendolia?
Could you please CC the Conservation Commission so we can put that in our file also?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can be on top of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, have a good night. All right. Consider a regional
Is Bill here?
What's that?
Ambrosino? Is Bill?
Oh, he's gonna be here at 8:15.
All right, so you want to,
Yeah, we'll skip over that.
That one.
Considering allowing access to Misco Road for lot 179-45, Misco. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Please, Mr. Ambrosino will be here at 8:15. If you don't mind, just being a little bit more patient. Thank you so much for your time. Consider the treasurer, collector, clerk, and municipal clerk positions. Linda? I think that this probably goes with this a little bit, so I just want to start off with, I did speak with the Town Hall Union, and although you haven't received the letter yet, I believe that I did discuss with them, you know what, and that's, the delay is my fault on that. It's that I did speak with them, they're okay with putting positions back the way that we had them originally from what we'd done before. So that conversation has taken place, so that should, I don't even remember, hold on one second, there was Concom and Highway has now been split back out to just Highway and Concom. Parks and Clerk's office is now separated, Parks and Clerk's office, and your office actually wasn't even affected by this, but that conversation did take place, and everybody's on board with separating it up.
all right, so we left it with considering merging or keeping them part-time, so what I'm hearing is we're going to keep them all part-time at this time. In the town hall,
Yes, the positions we split, right, and I think that, as long as we keep in discussions with everybody, that may be fluid.
Yep.
As things move around, but at least resetting it at this point, we had personalities that were in place, and people, you knew how we were gonna merge things together, and knew the people, that now we don't, there was, again, a slight concern over that you wouldn't be the right person to fit both positions, so, but again, we're working through all that, so.
Perfect.
All right, Linda.
Well, actually, last time we spoke, I had a recommendation for the municipal clerk position, and if you were ready to do so, if we could take a vote on that.
Yeah, I think at this stage, I'm ready.
Yep.
Any questions? Is that rate correct?
I believe it is. Great, well, I'm going to state the step and the grade. I may omit the dollar amount, because I don't know if 1802 is the right dollar amount, but I know the grade and step are right.
Your grade and step is correct and the rate is correct. It should be a 4-1, and 1802 is the fiscal year 14 grade and step for non-union personnel.
And that was the same as the person that was...
That's the starting point for
That
this
is-
position.
That's the starting
grade and
point.
Step,
Yep.
the grade and step was the same as the person.
Okay.
I move to appoint Janet LeBlanc as part-time municipal clerk in the treasurer's office effective August 5th, 2013, subject to Ms. LeBlanc accepting an offer of employment at a non-union pay grade of step 4, grade 1, $18.02 per hour, for 18 hours a week.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Linda.
And that was the starting date?
August 5th?
Oh, great. And that's that whole lead time?
Yes, I need that time
Perfect. How's everything else going, all right?
fantastically.
Oh, wonderful.
I just want to talk to you about advertising a position in my office for the 9 hours a week,
Okay,
so that I can get that advertisement going.
okay. You just...
Same rate of pay, same grade and step. It's a
okay.
non-union position now.
I think that we need to, yeah, I don't...
I'd like to advertise for the position, but I'm not off this floating thing, honestly. which is different than the merging. So,
I think I've heard little bits of conversation around about putting that position in with another position, and I'm not totally for that.
I'm not
I've
so-
had two
I'm not-
of the last clerks that I've had in my office have worked other positions in the town hall, and I found that they may be in my office working, but then somebody may come in for parks and need to speak to that person, and so it's taking time away from my office and taking that person away from the work that has to be done in my office as well.
I think that the concept of a floater is not necessarily allocated to any office, but if hours are needed, and this is going to get into more of planning and capacity in terms, for instance, when we talked about it before, last fall and winter going into the elections and things like that, clearly we said, well, yeah, that needs to be in your office. I mean, it's a heavy time of season.
There's still other stuff that goes on in my office
I understand.
year-round.
Well,
And
this is my perspective, and I'm not sure if it's the board's perspective, but I would say this. I'm happy to advertise for municipal clerk, and I'm happy to say that person's going to start in your office. But what I'd also like to understand is, what's the work that person's going to do in your office? When does it occur? Things like dog licensing. I know that's a big thing, right?
dog licensing,
Right,
yeah.
but that's not a year-round event, right?
No.
No. Elections, big, busy time. It's not a year-round event. I'm just trying to understand the required capacity in each office, and it actually speaks to some other things on here. I'm not saying no. What I'm saying is, can we actually plan around, say, tax receipt mailings? Do we know if Linda's office is going to have a peak time, and does it coincide with yours? If not, is there an opportunity where we can say, you know what, can you schedule 4 hours over in treasurer's office?
I actually had that with Sherry working in my office and the treasurer's office, and there was elections on the same day that taxes were due. So she would need her in there, and I would need her in my office.
Well, no,
You know?
and this actually gets back to the larger issue of a town administrator. This is what a town manager, a town administrator does, is manage personnel and resources. So I understand that it's not always going to work out perfectly. All I'm suggesting is, I think we've got to make sure that opportunity's there, and I don't even know where it would go other than the town clerk's office for the time being. But this is more for me saying, Margaret, I'm not off that idea. I think it's the right thing to do. Do I think we can manage it right now without a town administrator? Absolutely not. Not effectively. I think it's a best efforts, and I think there's a lot of collaboration that goes on in town hall as it is, so I'm not overly concerned with it, but I think, as I did with Linda, is I think I questioned her pretty hard on, and I think we didn't even post it as a we posted it as a municipal clerk, correct? For this very reason. I guess I'm suggesting the same thing for this 9-hour position.
So the short answer is,
There is no short answer, Lonnie, come on. Not when I'm talking.
yes, but keep an open mind that it may come back to discussions at some point that we might, if we can come up with a correct plan.
That's much better.
That everybody can work with. And again, all these ideas that the board's bringing are, new stuff, and it's going to require us to have the back and forth about it, but I just don't want to kick anything under the carpet, just to kick it under the carpet. Anything that we can do to help consolidate, save, things like that, as long as we're always looking in that direction, we might go through 20 items before we get to one that it says, yeah, that works, right, you know what I mean? So I think that we should...
So we might fail 19 times before we get to the one that works.
Maybe
Right.
30. So I think that, just keep that in mind. And I suppose that if we continue along the terminology of municipal clerk, I think that will be good. So 10 days in the town hall, and then as many days as you need to on the outside. Only because that's in the personnel policy, I think, so. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. How'd you sneak in there? You're not even on the agenda. I said, how'd you sneak in there? You're not even on the agenda.
Municipal clerk
Oh,
position.
municipal clerk, yes, you are. Yeah, Bill's still not here. Let's move to the consideration for the owner's project manager for the renovation of the new Taft Library. How's everybody doing tonight, all right?
How are you?
Chairman?
Wonderful.
You all set? Good evening, Chairman of the board. I think I'll push that away from me and talk a little loud. So thank you for having me. My name is Paul Fitzgerald. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Library Building Committee, joined with my co-committee members, Don Moran and Susan Donnell. And with us also is Mary Bolso, and we'll save Mary's introduction for a little bit.
Thank you.
What we'd like to do with for the board tonight is just kind of give a quick overview and status of our evaluation and our attempt to hire an owner's project manager to support the Taft Library Building project. What we did is, quick summary, I'm sure the board members know a lot of this, but I'll give you the 30,000 foot view, is we developed a request for services some time ago, earlier in the year, and went out and we posted that RFS out for public bid. It was a good effort, contained a lot of content, a lot of requirements that we were looking for, all within what we were hoping to afford for the project, so it was a lot of detail. Long story short is we did receive 5 qualified proposals from different firms in the area. The team then took action to vet out the bids through a rating system that we developed as a team. Well thought out, and I think it was well done in terms of getting to the bottom of who the best firm was for our project. We then, as a committee, interviewed the firm of Lamaro Pagano Associates out of Worcester, who, as of right now, is our recommended firm for owner's project manager for the library. We have a lot of supporting detail that we can certainly go into or answer any questions, but the firm certainly demonstrated, I think, all the capabilities, all the expertise that we needed, again, for what we could afford from a project standpoint, what the town had approved for funding. Again, a lot of effort, a lot of paperwork, a lot of backup. I think some of that information has been shared through the Board of Selectmen via our chairman, Joe Cronin, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. So with that, I would like to introduce Mary Bolso with LPA. And Mary is joined by Robert no, okay, not back. I thought that was Robert in the back. So Mary would be the representative from LPA on site at a frequency, and also our Mendon owner's project manager to support the project. So I'll introduce Mary also out of Blackstone.
Yep, 6
right,
miles
so very
down the
local. Again, we've had discussions with Mary and her firm, and think we could do well by hiring LPA, and certainly with Mary as OPM. So our recommendation tonight is to officialize this, if you will. I believe town council already has a copy of our proposed contract. It's been edited, commented on, I believe. I don't know if a copy's been shared with LPA yet, but that's...
We received it this morning.
You did, okay.
And
So
our council now has it.
So they have a copy of our proposed contract reviewed by the town, and recommended next steps from the committee would be to enter into negotiations with LPA to finalize that contract and get them on board.
Excellent.
So I don't know if there are any questions, or...
I was so kindly briefed by Joe Cronin this afternoon, so
I'm sure it was thorough.
I am, obviously this is the recommendation that they have. He seems very comfortable with it. Knowing the fields that yourself and Joe are in, I'm sure that there was that this was not, there wasn't anything overlooked, so.
So just the clarification, enter contract negotiations, so there would be a final review by town council before you would sign it.
Right, at this point, we've already seen the first draft, it's back over with them now. I would just, in the essence of time and less load on Diane, that we would allow you to have your council just work back and forth directly with our council, again, just in the essence of time. So feel free to say, okay, these are the changes I have, and let them bounce it back and forth until all the legalese is handled, and then we can meet the sign.
Okay.
No issues there, Mary?
No.
Okay.
Nope, none at all.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's great.
And you live right in Blackstone?
Yep. So
Oh.
I'm anxious to get started. Yeah, it's nice and convenient.
That's great, yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's on the way to the office.
I was gonna say, on your way to Worcester, stop by, make sure everything looks good, and then check it on the way home.
That's
Yeah,
what I figured.
whether Mary knows or not, we're going to leverage her close proximity to the
Yeah.
town's benefit, so.
Yes, we like that.
Works.
Selectman Real had an opportunity to participate in...
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've been to a couple of the meetings and very comfortable with the group of people working on this, so
Thank you.
it's definitely.
Great, that's
Yeah,
great.
it was a well-rounded approach. I think everybody was happy the way it went, the process it took and the way it ended. So,
Great, that's great, that's great. I'm so glad to see this is working pretty smooth.
one big step.
What's that? Oh, we have, you have a motion?
I have a motion.
Get out of here.
Mr. Chairman, I move to enter into a contract with Lamero Pagano for owner's project management services for the renovation of 29 North Avenue as the new Taft Public Library for the town of Mendon.
Second?
Discussion. The only thing I would bring up on that is that pending, so what's the motion again?
We're just moving into contract
Okay.
negotiations.
No, all set, that's what that, I'm good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just before we leave, I think that one other item was, I know that, well, it was at least on the radio this morning, was in regards to repurposing the rectory for whatever we could, as far as possibly the police trailers, to get, just to get rid of those. There was also thought that maybe we could put the building department up there and slide the police officers into the basement of the building for their space. After, I did meet up there, met with the chief, I met with Joe, met with Mr. Schofield from the Finance Committee, and looking at, from a police perspective, it's really not...
Is this the police trailer discussion?
Yes. Is it on here?
Yeah. It's the next item.
Perfect. So from a police officer, from the police perspective, there's one of the drawbacks is that the proximity of having, and it actually hangs on both sides of the equation as far as moving up, being up there and having to come back down if there's something going on that they're needed for at the police station would be a little bit of a situation. The cost of actually renovating it, I believe if we were going to relocate the police up there, was less than if we actually had to move the building department, for instance, up there. Only because of the way that the building is trapped up on that first floor, handicapped access that would need to be added, the way that the front door swings open, there would have to be a movement of the door, some walls moved, to make this all function as far as putting the building department or building departments up there, because you have to have secure...
So just to simplify it, I'm more concerned with the police trailer, of which the rectory is maybe one potential solution, right? So are we going to talk more about what we can do with that building besides that police? Is that what we're talking about?
If there's other ideas at this point, I think those two first ideas, going back to my point of 20 items sometime, or 19 before we get to 20, I think that the discussions that have taken place at this point, it does not work for the police, it does not work for the building department.
Yeah, I think
In terms of just can we move from discussion to documentation? Can I get an understanding of specifically, say, for each department, if there's a reason why? Because I just want to formalize it a little bit more. So, I think, and I'm not sure if, I don't want to put Lieutenant Blanchett on, I'm not sure if he's been part of these discussions.
Oh, feel free to ask.
You might want to take that discussion offline.
The only thing I would want to put on, Mr. Chairman, is that, to be clear, that we, as a committee, we recognize that the future state of the rectory used for the town purposes or whatever is really outside of the charter for the building committee. I think everything that's happened today has been good discussions, maybe options identified, what-if scenarios, but we haven't really done a lot of, I would say, formal evaluation in terms of who could go, space planning, capacity planning, et cetera. So we strictly see it as outside of the purview of the committee, but knowing that it does have a big impact, whether it happens or not on the
Well,
project.
there's services that are in the basement of the rectory that service the church, so we have to do this somewhat in concert with one another.
No, I'm just looking for the reasons why it's not working. I'm not even looking for you guys to pursue use of that space.
The services that are in the rectory, as far as, what do we got? There's electrical and heating. Does the heating have anything to do with the main facility?
Well, the heating that's in there is not useful anyway.
Understood.
And then my understanding is the well comes from that side of the property as well.
Now, what about the electrical?
The electrical is in the church. It has its own.
So they have their own service in there. then there's the separate service for the rectory, the well, and is the heating that's in the rectory, does that heat the church as well?
There's some shared heating.
The oil tanks that support the heating systems in the church itself are in the
hot
rectory.
water.
The hot water that come from now the end-of-life system that's in the rectory, and then the heating systems for the church just heat themselves on air in the church.
Okay.
So it's it's a hybrid mix, if you will. The other important note is in the project has to address is the fire alarm system now currently is in the rectory, and we have to figure out what the future state for the church is going to be, so.
So just on that note, is it in the plan for this to repair the heating system, replace the electrical service? I know that the panels are the American Standard?
Federal Pacific.
Federal Pacific, sorry. Yes, and I know I have them in one of our buildings as well, that, they're not, although they don't, catch on fire daily, they have been known to, be a hazard. So I didn't know if in the plan that you guys are working on right now, is any renovations as far as heating, electrical, or fire system going to be addressed as part of the renovation of it now? Or is that going to just kind of sit there on its own until we find something to do with it?
If you're referring to renovations as part of what's in the current rectory, I think there's a lot of that still be determined once we get our architect on board. There are elements of the church infrastructure that could be applied to support the rectory.
Okay.
But I think it's a design decision at the right time.
Okay.
Oil or gas, the committee and the team.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. So we
Understood.
could, we might, we would elect not to, where all possible, just to keep the line clear. But I think it's, Don, you would agree, it's probably a little too early to tell at this point until we get some design work going.
But we want to make sure we have some plan going into the winter.
Yeah,
Especially
that's
if
a very
we're
good
going
point.
to have to heat the rectory or keep it at least in a safe state, even if we just winterized it, like last year, we
Yeah, that's a
put
very good point.
antifreeze in all the water systems and stuff. We just need to make sure it's winter safe.
No matter what becomes of it.
Right.
The cost to heat the rectory last year was tough.
Okay.
Certainly from a town budget
Well,
standpoint.
and especially
no
that,
budget
the
for that.
Right.
the efficiency is of that unit. I don't even, is it now at the point that it's just dead?
It's gone, yeah.
Okay.
The system actually doesn't work, so.
All right, great. So on that note, if you guys want to, okay,
Yep. Thank you.
that's fine, and
Very
then
good.
we can continue on. Thank you guys so much. Excellent work.
Thank you, Wood.
I think the police trail thing is less about what I'd probably, since we were on the town floor talking about potential uses, we should in writing formally close out that it was looked at, it was deemed unsuitable for these reasons. Something that anyone, if we're gone, can refer back to. Because I think, the FinCom pushed that quite a bit for financial reasons. Can we get this trailer off the roll, so to speak? That was an idea. Let's close out on the idea, get something from the chief in writing saying, here's why we can't do it, put it to bed. Just bring closure to it. And then we got to make sure, see, he's gone now. FinCom, yeah.
He'll be back.
No, but I think we have to make sure that if we close on that, we got to make sure we have the November payment, because he gave us, a September deadline to try to make a decision on this and whether or not we could terminate the lease, right? Get out of the lease. So otherwise, we got to make sure FinCom has the money to cover the 16.
I think it's in the budget, isn't it?
If we got to stay in the trailer.
Hey, Rich, is the trailer payment in the budget?
It's covered?
Sure it is, yeah. You voted it out of before, yeah.
Okay. So it's covered?
Special article, special.
Yeah, as it always has been, yep, correct. All right.
Okay.
So that's already in the, it's on the, if anything was to happen, that would be a savings that we'd be able to put somewhere else.
Right. But in the meantime, we're going to close out on that particular idea formally. We can't do that.
Well, like I said, you're requesting a document, saying that this is why this doesn't work.
Yep.
Okay? Sold? What do we got?
I thought I saw Bill walk in.
Yes.
As part, I kind of snuck in signed report of the advance of funds for the library. You should have something to sign.
I don't have anything.
No, I saw it. It's in here somewhere. It's in this pile of paper I have.
What's this for?
That's actually what we just did.
Oh, that's not ready to be signed.
Yeah, we'll take that back.
Come on up. Yeah, I was just gonna say, is this early too?
This, no. This is just to allow us to technically sort of draw from general funds until we get the bond money in. The bond will sell at the end of October is what we're planning on right now.
And we're still looking at the,
We are, but I think we're real close to a real good solution there. So, yeah, this just allows us to lawfully dip into general funds that will get paid back.
and sorry, my comment with my pen going up and down probably didn't really reiterate what I was saying, but I've been speaking with Linda as well as the Finance Committee's been working with Linda to find out the best bonding solution, whether there may be, we were looking at if we did it for 12 years, was it?
12 years was the shortest period.
With the highest payments.
And with the highest payments in that base, had everybody's taxes would go up a little bit.
This is the one that Rich walked us through last meeting?
Yes.
Correct. And again, we're actually looking for a middle ground.
Yep.
And
I think I've found it with a 15-year bond repayment schedule, which kind of allows us some reduction in taxes out in fiscal year 17. The library bond will take up a good portion of that decrease that we're going to see in fiscal year 17. So the library will take up a good portion of that, but there's still a little bit left over in case we have another capital project that needs to be
Yeah, I just want to be
fit
clear,
in
you
there.
said reduction in taxes as opposed to regaining some capacity if we have other debt financing opportunities.
Well, out in fiscal year 17, with the 15-year debt repayment schedule, there will be a slight reduction in taxes, unless it gets filled in with another.
Unless something else takes its place.
Correct.
And that was the whole plan. And the offset of doing it at 20 was the actual whole offset was paid out, was the close to the amount of interest that you would pay additionally. So that's why Linda started looking at a middle ground
I mean,
scenario.
it makes sense. I mean, as I said in the last meeting, that first option that was floated for 12 years just made no sense to me.
Well, that 12-year option filled in what we were being reduced, what our taxes were being reduced.
I understand why it was put out that way. I just think it might have,
Yep,
I'd like a little more flexibility.
yep, so it took
Yep.
it all up. I mean, it used all of it. 15 years is going to cost us more, obviously, because you extend any loan, it's going to cost you more in interest. This is going to cost us in between $200,000 and $250,000 more in interest, but it does buy us a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, great.
But we will talk, although I would be glad to talk about that, I wasn't expecting to tonight.
No, that's fine. I think that it probably, once everybody's all on the same page, maybe the next meeting, we can bring some closure to that, okay? That's great. Thank you. Going to move back up to regional e-permitting. I believe that, Bill, is that one of your items?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm here for, to speak to.
Okay, there's two things, actually.
Yes.
Okay. Come on up.
Fortunately, I don't have my paperwork with me.
From memory.
I didn't bring it.
Yeah.
I just came from coaching my kids, so.
Yeah, excuses.
Yeah.
Just don't doodle on that one. I think that's our signing
yeah,
copy. there.
Right. As you know, I've been after this for quite some time when it first started being developed. This actually has been a working process for several years. It's, to me, I think it's very advantageous for the town, and as you know, several communities in our region are beginning to utilize it. And that's the reason for that is so they can know what each other are doing. And I'll give a perfect example. When Bellingham went to build development on North Street, okay, right over the Mendon town line, there was a number of houses put in just over the town line, and at that point in time, I don't think Mendon reacted or attended any public meetings on that. But that was something that greatly affected what Mendon was doing. Bates Street not being really an access road.
I think Mendon had something to say at that point in time, and that was a perfect opportunity. If we had something like this, we could be, watching, keep an eye on what's going on around us. I talked to CMRPC about it. They think it's a tremendous venture.
This is the same thing that Upton's using as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and Upton's been very happy with it.
Well, they just got on with the collaborative that's being formed, and we were that was brought to us like last November. So they've opened it back up, so we can jump on that same deal.
The same deal, yeah.
So where she kind of thought maybe if Blythe said it was closed out, CMRPC opened it back up. This is the same, Vera, same contact for the
Vera,
master plan for the other one we're
Vera
going
and
to talk
Trish
about.
Settles are the two contacts for it, so.
I mean, it comes down to really $7,000, and do we have it?
Well, exactly. I mean, I'm not in a position to tell you that, guys. If I had all, if I want to do all the things I wanted to do on, on that side of the community, the planning, and I've wanted online maps and stuff. Yeah, you guys just write me a $25,000 check a year, and I can take care of it all for you. It's not a problem.
Well, we're definitely working through all the items, because the online mapping, I think, is.
I think it's huge. I think I think you almost have to weigh this, to be honest with you. If you would have asked me which is more important, I would say at this point the online mapping is more.
I mean, I don't know if you've just gone to.
Online mapping was supposed to be part of that first wave of the website.
I thought it was supposed to be part of that.
No, they do, what they basically did, they took our crude paper maps, and some of the problem was that the person who was doing our maps at that time really didn't have them indexed well. They were very difficult and very, to format those paper maps and being able to index it. That's what they were talking about doing.
Sure. And also, I want to speak to that real quick, because I had a pretty detailed discussion with both sides of the fence on the website, as well as the person that would provide the maps. So the website will tell you that, yes, we need this file, and this is what we want to do it. And then, so I called over to the guy that makes the maps or whatever he might be doing, and he said that, well, yeah, but you're not going to get them up to date, and we're not going to open it up to real-time updates, and you'll have to do this, once a year, and there'll be a fee for us to give this to you. Why don't you just use my deal, and we'll link it to the website, and that'll be this much money per year. So it's been just this kind of back and forth about how to get it done, and then now we're at the point of, okay, look, we don't even want to talk to this.
I want to do both.
I understand. But we're at the point where we were discussing, we're now discussing, look, we're getting a new website, and I think that at this stage of the game, the website and the mapping and the e-permitting are three separate items.
That's correct.
And because there's again, I don't know if anybody's used the Milford website and gone and pulled the map up, but I tell you, it's
First of all, from a planning standpoint and from, just overall, I mean, I don't see how it can't save, people coming into the building.
What's the cost of the mapping, the software?
I think the mapping ended up being about, the first wave.
What is it?
About $6,000 a year.
The assessors actually released the amount of $3,000 from the overlay account.
That's right.
As requested, and that money was never spent, so it was forwarded into the general fund this year.
Right.
So, but it was 3,000 or was?
Yeah, actually, I sent you guys the proposal. Now, there was
Hold on one second, sorry, because I got to clear this up. Sorry, Gene, why don't you just come up for a quick minute, if you don't mind? This is from the current company that we're using, the gentleman that I spoke to, or is this a new company?
No, this is the one that
Okay.
People GIS.
Okay.
They're the one that
same one
came
Milford's
in.
using?
That's the one that came in. Ernie and I met with when he was the
Town administrator.
Town administrator. We sat down with them. The stuff, you can go from this point all the way to here. I mean, you can have that online mapping tracking dogs in town, tracking your elderly, your handicap. So it's whatever you want to buy along the way. I think the minimum was like $6,000 to set up and $3,000 a year. And that's where we're talking about the $3,000 a year came from. If you want to start adding the other stuff, a proposal was on the table. It was a pretty good package for about $6,000 a year. I mean, and you could pretty much zero in on any piece of property in Mendon.
So I still want to do both.
So, okay, so, all right. Do we still have the proposal kicking around for what you?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I don't have it with me,
I
but-
think that in the essence of finances and whatnot, let's get a price for or adjust it, whatever we need to do, for the initial mapping. Let's do that.
Well, the proposal breaks it down so you guys can.
Okay, all right, so we have that. So can we get a copy of that? I'll run with this one with the finance committee as far as this. I think the town clerk's office is still working with the website, which is fine. And so for this how much is this one?
This regionally permitting 7,000.
7,000.
Per year or just one time?
No, that's the initial
3,000.
setup.
Yeah.
It's like 2,000.
Mr. Schofield,
I'm just curious, it sounds like most of the charges that Mr. Ambrosino was just talking about, a lot of it's once off upfront, right?
Yes.
Projects?
Yes.
Could Mr. Ambrosino come to the CapEx meeting on Thursday and we can add it to everything else we're doing? I mean, it's essentially CapEx if it's once off initial project.
25, is it under?
Actually, I apologize, I'm not available this
It's
Thursday.
under $25,000, though. Is that still part of CapEx?
That's the limit to use the CapEx account to spend on it. It's not.
Okay, so CapEx is still looking at all of the projects. Okay.
I believe is the limit that we.
Okay.
If nothing else, I'll try and put together all the information that I have on all these three projects and try and lay it out so you guys can all get it.
What are the three? Is the website one of the three?
Yeah, I had the website as one of the three also, but.
I thought you had the
You
website
can
now.
let I mean.
No,
I
the
don't
clerk's
care
office does.
Who handles the website at this point. I mean, I think I know we were going out to get a few different prices.
I think we got them all. I think we're ready.
I think we're good where we're at, and it's basically the same money that we're already spending. It's like replacement of what we're spending now.
So the regionally permitting needs a response by the 31st of July to get on.
Yeah, I saw that today. I would say I can, put a holder on it with them.
Okay,
With their.
That's okay. This item then, if this is a little bit more time sensitive,
This is definitely more
let's get it to, let's have that back. We'll give it to CapEx. But look, we need to kind of figure out if we can do this by the next selectmen's meeting, and whether or not we opt into this and start it, next fiscal year if we have to, based upon funding.
And that's kind of why I brought all this stuff up. I knew it might have to be built in steps. But I wanted to make everybody aware of all this stuff.
I'm impartial when it comes to technology. I'd like to see it all come flying in, but.
I think it saves money.
Well, this addresses the last discussion we had in terms of do we or do we not have a permit, right? If we can get this stuff online, captured, tracked, we're not going to have some of
I
those
think that's
discussions.
the biggest savings you're going
Right.
to see in your building department is the tracking of the current permits. I mean,
Mr.
this would be a
Schofield.
lot easier.
So if you could just forward the information to me, I'll bring it to CapEx. Anything that's below the CapEx limit, bring it to the finance committee and we'll take care of one way or another.
Okay. Is there a finance committee before our next selectmen's meeting?
I know, but if we had to have one, we could do it.
Okay. I'm sorry, Diane, can
Is
you?
this truly an item for capital? I mean, this is a contract, right? I don't even think, I'm happy to.
I think it's like a lease agreement.
I think, I understood us, just as far as numbers are concerned, let's keep on our track that we're working on right now. Just, you guys are meeting Thursday. There's no reason why you can't
Yeah,
look
I was
at it.
hoping FinCom would see it,
But that's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, can we, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
This, as a professional, as an end user of the GIS system, this reverse GIS and town mapping, the advent of this was about 8 years ago, and a lot of towns were on the leading edge. A lot of those towns subsequently dropped their system after the contract expired and went to someone else. Today, there are really fantastic GIS systems, and then there's real dogs. So I understand cost is an issue, but my advice, just as a friend of the board, is to speak to people who are end users of this, such as DPW in neighboring towns, assessing in neighboring towns, and see what their recommendations are as to, oh, this is a dog, don't even touch this.
Okay.
Or, oh, we're really happy with this.
Okay.
The salespeople from the GIS, they'll sell you anything you want,
Yeah.
but whether or not it works is an entirely different.
Understood.
And we did that with, actually, two were recommended for price range. One was People GIS, and the other one was Cartographers. There's a company called Cartographers out in New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah, actually, Cartograph is used in Millville.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I just, those were the two that, you know, that I saw most used in this area due to the cost factor. I'll tell you several towns that are using People GIS, some larger communities like Acton, and some of them, they're Concord, they love it. But, you know, they're obviously, they bought all the bells and whistles because they can afford it.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So could you just, do we have an electronic copy of that? Okay, can we just forward that to Rich for, that would be for, sorry, actually, can you get all three items electronic copies to the FinCom?
She already has the one for, that you.
I understand, but I want to be proactive. Yeah, I want to get
no problem.
get everything to Rich so that, because they're meeting Thursday night, so
Yeah.
let's fill their meeting.
It's no problem. We can do that.
Anybody else want anything while Rich and those guys are meeting?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah, the planning board needs an automobile. Pick up.
The planning board needs a car.
Yeah.
The
Assessors need a car.
Well, we can share it.
I need a new car. Need a new shoe, apparently. Okay, all right, anything further on that? Okay, so let's move to the next agenda to Misco Road, Lot 179-45, subdivision.
You mind if I stand?
No, go ahead. And, oh, yeah, sorry. We want to prepared for visuals.
Had this drawing sitting on my desk for about 2 weeks now.
There you go.
Yes, just send them right around.
Okay, first of all, my name's Mike Hammer, professional land surveyor. I represent Gail Rasby, who's the landowner. I met Ms. Rasby because I work with her son. I'm from Southern New Hampshire. I worked in Boston for years, but I moved to this beautiful country like around here. Ms. Rasby has owned this property for quite some time. She's an elderly woman. Her husband passed on last year, and now she's moved out. She's trying to move the property. And for some reason, beautiful piece of land like that in a large house, she's having trouble moving it. At the advice of her son, she said, you know what, I think you have 3 lots there, and they're more marketable that way. The question that I had, or I approached the board with, the planning board in an informal fashion is, does this meet the approval not required standards for approval not required? Are you familiar with the approval not required subdivision process?
Yes.
As is currently constituted, Misco Road is a public way. And Old Road to Upton, which is known as Misco Hill Road on the other side, is a public way. The public way on Old Road to Upton, which I'll refer to it just to keep it separate from the Upton side, is public. The Upton side, Misco Hill Road, is discontinued. The 2 criteria for A&R approval that I've spoken to the board about is it actually on a public way? And there's a vital access standard. The board is comfortable with the way as a public way, but they're concerned about the vital access standard. About a year ago, Mr. Philbrook approached the board to get a building permit or to make some improvements to Old Road to Upton in order to secure a building permit on his land that straddles both sides of the line. In conjunction with that, he approached you folks to allow him to make some improvements upon that under the supervision of the street surveyor. Did I have that right? The road surveyor?
Highway, street, whatever, that's fine.
The road, or the improvements are now under construction. They're on the particular, they're on Old Road to Upton. What we seek to do is to add one additional lot by utilizing that frontage for access. Currently, as constituted, I can get 2 lots. We actually would like a 3rd lot. It is possible to go through the full planning board process to have that road brought up to town standards in order to get that 3rd lot. It's not very cost effective. For us to go in that direction, we're talking about putting a cul-de-sac in there, which is not where we want to go. And Mr. Ambrosino had said, I'm having trouble with this vital access issue. Please go see the board and see what kind of arrangements happen with Mr. Philbrook and whether or not we can get some guidance for you as to where we want to go. I understand you want to discontinue the remaining portion after Philbrook completes his work, which brings up some other issues, but I don't want to discuss that yet. I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so, Mr. Philbrook, when I was originally elected 8 years ago, Mr. Philbrook was really, was trying to research this whole portion of this road, right? And what it came down to was, like, when you, is that I worked with him to try to help him to make this happen, because he was here, and he was here every day almost, and digging through old books, trying to find out the status of this road, and, he was kind of reaching dead ends and whatnot. And, my opinion is always I always want to try to help people accomplish whatever his dream is, to have his home there. And that, it was inspiring to me to help him to do this, because that's what he was trying to do, and he had this really awkward piece of property that was in 2 towns. So we just signed it. I mean, not even within a year's time frame.
Yeah.
We just signed this, and kind of came to a conclusion on this. I think it was actually in this physical year that we finally came to the conclusion. So the idea was, okay, look, there's not a million things going to go on up there. You're going to have your one house. It's going to end up being more of a long driveway. Really long driveway, all right? And he's going to spend the money, and a considerable amount of money, to improve this to the point of public safety and highway, to make sure that we can get a fire truck up in there, that it can turn around, and all these considerations, and spent a lot of time on that. And then at the point that it was done, and it was done to the standard that everybody was happy, as soon as he was done, that this road was now going to be discontinued. Okay, so now, I'm not saying that there's nothing that can be done here. Again, I'm on the same position of trying to help somebody here. Now, the problem becomes is now that Mr. Philbrook's done this, and it's essentially, once it's really all done, and it's discontinued, it's going to revert to the center line of the road, and each person's going to own a half.
Right, and that actually brings up the point that I have, it may be of issue.
What's that?
Unless he can prove that he has prescriptive rights in the underlying road that date back to its origination. It means he had used it for 20 years before it became a public way.
Yeah.
Which is impossible because the lots weren't created until 2006.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any right to travel on the half that would belong to Mrs. Rasby. And I'm not sure, that being out there on the grounds.
I'll tell him state of the right then.
Well, it's constructed. It's built.
Yeah,
You're creating a
Really?
circumstance.
Really? Is this thing's gonna come and torture us now?
I
This
don't
is
want
great.
it to. I don't
Hold on.
want it to. This is
The
just,
one
I'm just
thing-
saying.
Well, you kinda just made a threat, so,
No,
thanks.
I'm not.
Go ahead, Bill.
The issue we have is once you, and they've been upfront on what their intentions were. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they're looking to go down that road, but we have a couple issues with, and I'm not sure where town council lands on this, Lonnie, but once we discontinue this road, we not only have an issue with the half that Mrs. Rasby owns, but we also have the half that Mr. Gannon owns. I mean, we're now processing across property that Mr. Philbrook may not own. The town would be better off not discontinuing the road. I wasn't aware that was going to happen when it all went through.
Well, but okay, so council, where was council on this? Council sat here
I
and...
don't know.
I mean, I'll be honest, where was the planning board on it? Because I would have loved to have heard that.
I didn't know that.
I think we send this back up to town council, explain what is being asked of, and we can bring it back later.
I mean, the well, hold on.
No,
The planning board's only issue with it is vital access.
I'm not blaming the planning board. This was completely done by the board of selectmen. I mean, with you guys, in the loop.
He sent it up to you guys.
Yeah, but again, now,
Let's just
get
an opinion.
Yeah, I want town council involved.
If I can offer some possible solutions. I understand, first of all, the town is not interested in seeing a lot of development in this area, and I understand that entirely.
I don't know that that's
that's
necessary. Development's development. I wouldn't say that the town is against any type of development. What I'm saying is that, this thing came up as a trying to help some guy build his house.
In Upton. That's the thing.
Yeah, in Upton. We've now we've wasted 7 years on this, and now I've got this in front of me saying, now this guy can't, because we didn't do our homework enough.
Yep.
So I'm frustrated with the whole process.
Actually, he's not in jeopardy of anything until the road becomes discontinued. So right now,
Right.
as is constructed.
Okay, but hold on, I just want to stop you right there. The fact that the whole process, the whole reason for this was that the road, we couldn't find out if the road was discontinued. Okay, we can't prove that it's discontinued, even though maybe somewhere it is. You want to build your home, you live in Upton, we're getting every utility's gonna come from Mendon. They're not gonna send the police from Upton to get there, they're not gonna send the fire department from Upton, because it doesn't make sense. They'll maybe eventually get there, but we're closer. So now with all this being done, we said, okay, all right, let's do this for you, we're gonna do this with you, and once you're done, let's discontinue the road. And now, after spending 6 or 7 years on this, and back and forth, and we think it's all done, now, again, there's just one more piece of stress on the table about this thing. We've got enough going on in this town that I don't really, this is not something I really feel like dealing with. But apparently we're gonna have to. So let's spend some more town council money on it and get it, maybe we'll get it right this time. But as far as the conversation is for this evening, and I'm not upset with you, sir, by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just frustrated with the process, with this whole mess. And it's probably a can of worms I shouldn't have even allowed to be open, but it is what it is. So,
Vital access is the only concern from the planning board's
Yeah,
perspective.
the planning board,
No other
A&R approval, the concern is that it lands on a public way with the proper frontage and vital access. That means, fire department, police department, everyone can make it up there and out without, any hindrance.
Yeah.
To approve an A&R, that's what we need. Okay, that's it.
To make this even easier, I think, and I don't know if it's even possible, but I'd even be willing to say, let's adjust, frontages here and maybe allow for some leeway to have the driveways come off of the other road. And then work to allow this, like I said, to be what we intended it to be, is a really long driveway.
Well, and that's what I was gonna suggest maybe, and I'm not sure.
That's up to the planning board to allow
Right.
that adjustment.
Well, I'm just looking for an opportunity here while, while we're talking about it. But I mean, could this be repositioned into a flag lot where you run a driveway, and that might be an opportunity.
I do have some minor concerns. There appears, I haven't surveyed it yet, there appears to be some wetlands in here.
Okay.
So we bring in Conservation Commission. I know it's more difficult to do wetlands crossings here in Mass than it is up in New Hampshire. So I really don't know what the full extent of that is. I'm not opposed to it, but it adds a wrinkle to the whole thing.
I think it's pretty wrinkled. One crossing might smooth it out.
Just another thing that has become more popular because of low-impact development is really becoming huge is shared driveways.
Oh, yeah?
It's becoming less aqueous surface, less pavement.
Sometimes like that, sometimes hey.
I was just gonna say they're coming back, huh?
Yeah, they're coming back. So, I mean, I went to a seminar on low-impact development. They're trying to reduce as much acreage surface as...
The only frustrating part with that,
Yeah, it is. It's the upkeep between...
It's the upkeep, right. For instance, my dad's, he shares 3 houses in Hopedale on one driveway.
Well, some even...
Well, no, actually, it doesn't, but I remember saying I couldn't imagine doing it with one person. Never mind trying to get 3 people together to pay for a driveway.
like the Obers did it, it's actually two separate driveways, but it's sharing that common 50-foot frontage, so they're each responsible for their actual own paved road.
Gotcha.
You know, so.
We're gonna
this-
bounce it back up to town council. There's potentially some alternative design that might mitigate this whole discussion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, the planning board's certainly willing to work with it. I mean, we're talking about one lot, to get to.
And that's,
You know.
from a raw acreage point of view now, in Mendon, this is gonna be over the Mendon Upton line. We use the most restrictive lot sizing and all these things.
Yep.
In Mendon, you can't utilize wetlands towards your
Right,
acreage.
it's gotta be upland.
From a raw land area, you can potentially get a couple more houses in here, maybe as much as 3. We're not interested in doing that. We're looking for a couple of large kind of legacy lots, as you would call them.
Yep.
And that pretty much kills any potential future development on that, at least on these 2 particular parcels.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, and understood. And look, I'm in the development business too, and trust me, I'm with you. And again, that's why I'm always usually so helpful on this, but again, it just, seems like it's coming back to haunt me.
And I don't disagree with what maybe the intention of what council was trying to do. Like I said, I didn't know, and I might not have had the answer at that point either myself. I didn't know that you guys were intending on discontinuing the road. But it does bring up, some question on, right away. You got.
No, understood, and I think if we can get everybody to work together here, and hopefully this will be the last time we work through it, if we can get it to work together, revert that back to Philbrick, you know what I mean, so he doesn't have any concerns going down the road with anybody trying to stop him and, driving over trying to get to his house.
In regards to the discontinuance of ways, up until 1996, when the Mass Supreme Court made a decision, there was like conventional wisdom that if it was discontinued, that there was still some kind of private easement to all the adjoining lots, which ran counter to some established cases, and they finally came forward and they said, nope, can't do that unless it had existed prior to
The discontinuance?
the discontinuance.
Right, well, then this will actually exist prior to the discontinuance.
Well, no, it had to exist prior to the creation of the road, the acceptance of the road. So in other words, if these lots had existed before this was ever dedicated as a public way, then you can make an argument they had a prescriptive right to utilize this particular way. These lots weren't created until 2006, and they weren't landlocked at the time. That's the other criteria that the Supreme Court talked about. There's some cases where lots are created that are landlocked. If they were landlocked beforehand, then they kind of have an implicit way.
Well, I can't speak to.
We'll get it figured out.
Laws and decisions and court
The point I'm trying to
cases.
make is,
Let's give it a bob.
that's still popularly misunderstood by people, even in law. There's all sorts of seminars about.
Mass does handle the discontinuation of roads,
It's
different than everybody else.
He was probably did his due diligence.
Bob's
Now
back
we're
from
gonna have-
vacation, right?
Goes back to the bridge scenario, we're gonna have to build him a bridge now. All right, thank you so much.
Bill, would it be fair to look for something from you to kind of outline any potential, either ideas, solutions, and concerns?
Yeah,
We'll
I'd
pass
have
it
to
on to
do it.
Bob as well, and then he can at least have an understanding of what thought. He might say, go with option A, because that's,
Yeah, you know something, I think I just would like you to work with Bob on this, because it's gonna, you guys know what you need, I don't wanna bounce back and forth between us, if you don't mind.
Don't mind at all.
Okay.
Don't mind
Yeah,
at all.
and whatever we can do to work it out, again, I definitely don't want
I
Mr.
think-
Philbrick at this stage of the game to find out that it's
to
not
be
taken, buddy.
To be honest,
Originally, you said no, because it was an Upton.
I know you did, I know this is my
Yeah.
fault, trust me, you guys can throw me on the stairs later.
Just what took place.
No,
Now it opened up the
to
can of
be
worms.
honest, the impact's so minimal, there's gotta be
I
something.
I think somebody told me it was gonna be a train wreck anyway, and I said, that's fine, I'm still gonna help him.
I said that, I think I said that.
Yeah.
It was easy for us to say no.
I think at the time I said, what if other people wanna do the same thing?
No, yeah. Hence the discontinuance, but maybe there's where the confusion came in, what he just mentioned to
Yeah, all right, I'll give the council and then I'll get back to you. Sure, look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Chapter 77 transfers.
protocols.
Protocols.
Mr. Schofield.
Sorry, I was talking in class.
Oh, then you've missed your agenda item then. Centralized processing, oh.
Chapter 77, discussion?
And I'm gonna make it worse now, not only was I talking to last week, but I have to tell you, I'm not prepared to discuss that topic tonight.
Good, thank you
Alright.
so much.
We'll pass over it then.
Centralized processing of
We're
invoices.
going to pass over the next one too, because that's mine, and I'm not prepared to talk about that yet. That's just an idea.
Murphy
that-
dog hearing decision, did you print out what I,
In all seriousness, though, that invoice process, maybe we take it up when we have the quarterly financial update.
understood, I would agree. Okay, so this is the new one, right?
Believe so.
When I adjusted today, my full legal status. Success. And just so you guys know, what I changed was what we had talked about before, was the word "and" to "or."
Oh, look at that. So is that dated July 15th?
I don't know. I didn't miss the date.
Yeah? Yep.
Oh, is that one of the
So,
things
but
you
I
said?
have to
Oh,
fill it
no.
in here,
What
right?
else did you say? Oh, that was.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure before you correct me.
We have a
Make the proper
motion.
motion. I move to issue the notice of decision dated July 15th, 2013 to Mr. Michael and Elizabeth Murphy.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of run through what the outcome was. I'm not going to read through the details of the meeting, but it's just that, one, the dog, sorry, did you second that?
Second,
Discussion.
yeah.
Number one, the dog shall be humanely restrained at all times, but such restraint shall not be by having the dog chained, tethered, or otherwise tied to an inanimate object, including but not limited to a tree, post, or building. Except as provides in section 3 below, the dog shall be confined to the premises at 106 Millville Street. Confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen or dog run area upon the premises of the owners or keeper. Provided further that such pen or dog run shall have a secure roof, and if such enclosure has no floor secured to the sides thereof, the sides shall be embedded into the ground for not less than 2 feet, and provide further that within the confines of such pen or dog run, a dog house or proper shelter from the elements shall be provided to protect the dog, and when removed from said premises, the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled or restrained with a chain or other tethering device having a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 feet in length. Success. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody got that? Sure. You still need a description of where the live entertainment will occur?
Well, if,
Is this is gonna be one of the most foolish things I've ever seen.
if there is going to be live entertainment,
The fact that we need a license for people to dance.
I think we do this every time we do renewals, don't we?
Every time this one comes up, I will reiterate how upset it makes me to feel that we need a license to dance. If I catch anybody dancing, sorry, is this gonna be for the show?
for the, right. But I haven't seen an application for live entertainment, so
Oh.
it's really,
Does the permit that we give him blanket that whole thing, or do you need this one specifically? If we do need this, please let them know.
I
think
did,
we
I sent
need
them the
that.
application. but
Okay.
I haven't received.
So you're giving us just to be proactive, if they
Yes.
do send it, that we would approve it.
This is that application that you sent.
Okay, thanks.
So,
Don't make a motion
I
on
was going to
this.
say, we're signing, they haven't submitted the application for what we're signing.
You know something, to be proactive, because we're gonna have to come in on a, yeah.
Because we have not made a motion on it anyway.
No,
I'm
that's
just
right.
signing a piece of paper.
Yeah, you're signing a piece of paper. Pre-signing. This is definitely a very odd situation. But, you know what,
That
it'll
one
come
you
down,
guys-
if they need it the night before, and nobody will be around, and I like the proactive. We can recycle it if it doesn't need it. Breaking AIDS ride request for the September 27th, 2013. Breaking AIDS ride will travel through the town of Mendon on Friday, September 27th. They've notified the chief at the PD of the intentions. It's a 3-day ride to benefit Housing Works, a major AIDS service organization headquartered in New York and with offices around the country. about 100 to 125 riders. This is, the money is to raise awareness to fight a disease that affects millions of Americans each year. This is just a ride, not a race. And, yeah, there's no reason, that's fine.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move to grant permission for the Breaking AIDS ride to travel through the town of Mendon on Friday, September 27th, 2013, at approximately 8:15 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I put your email on that, Diane. I put your email in there.
24 hours?
No, not on that one. That would be for the police department. No, that top one was just our office, right? The one where you needed me to sign it? The second page, they wanted our email. And yeah, the second part is for the 24 hours. Okay. Rather than that. Anything else?
We got meeting minutes.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
So actually, June 27th was, you were not with us, it was just Mark and I, was the
Okay, that's fine.
STM.
I just will.
So, in July 1st, Diane, have I seen that copy sent?
I sent it late, so if you don't want to approve it, I can
Okay.
put it on the next.
Mark, if you want to make that, or you want to step down in second, either one. What role do you want to play on this one?
I'll step down a second.
Okay, I move
What are you
to we're going to approve the meeting minutes that you weren't part of.
That's right.
You can do it?
You can still make the motion.
All right.
Just make the motion, he'll second.
I move to approve the meeting minutes June 27th as written.
Discussion. Oh, sorry. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, ultimately, I don't even know that the chairman votes except as a tiebreaker, but.
All right. And then the only, one thing I wanted to cover is the CMRPC email we got regarding the Foxwood Casino. They needed a response today regarding our participation in their work around planning and impact assessment, things like that. Well, I spoke to Vera on Friday, and we can send them an official response tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
But I did want to kind of touch on it real quick to make sure that everyone's okay with that. Basically, they're looking for some solicitation from towns, whether or not we're going to participate, whether we're going to go it alone, do our own assessments, things like that.
I say we jump on board.
Yeah, I'm of that opinion. There's a couple things in the PDF she sent. I just gave her some brief feedback that Diane and I will put into writing regarding, there's just some language around if the applicant or Foxwoods, does a study, they may do something. If they don't do something, they'll do it in lieu of the applicant. And things like traffic studies, I might suggest you probably want to do it in addition to. So you have sort of that objective viewpoint. So we'll kind of summarize stuff like that, send it on to her, but basically, we're not bound by it. We're saying we don't intend to collect funds, we do intend to participate. I don't think we're bound by that. She just wants to try to get assessment for what their costs will be to do it. It sounds like some towns are opting out, like Hopkinton, things like that. But I think most towns, the towns that we've been to meetings.
It's pretty directly related
Yeah.
to the whole project, and they're
very engaged.
They've got some probably huge effects that will come. I mean, like I said, I would expect an increase in traffic in Mendon.
Right. So we'll kick that off. Also, we'll have a direct tie to the master plan committee, working groups, things like that. So did talk to her about tying that in, since they've got a sense for what our environment and what folks want to see. They'll be tailoring the studies to kind of address some of that feedback they've already gotten.
Perfect.
So that's that. And
You
then
want to just set a couple dates? We've got the 29th, I say the 12th and the 26th.
is that every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Gets us into 12th and the 26th of August. The 29th should already be booked, correct?
Yes. Maybe 2 weeks from tonight, right?
It's not booked until.
So
So,
48 hours before.
No, I know,
So
but we
we're
already
planning
have it
on
on the
the-
radar,
Yep.
I should say. 7 PM, that's the 12th, I said? Schofield, I'm going to send you the principal's office.
we got 5. Do we want to go into executive
Yes, we
session?
do.
For both of these or one of these?
Well, they're the same.
So I'm just going to read this one.
It's just to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. We also have to discuss, that's going to happen prior
Okay.
to. Hold on one second, let me just finish this. But I think there's a question before we go into executive session.
Who has a question?
I think I saw a hand up in the back right.
Is there a question out there, or was that a 5-minute signal?
Oh, that was a 5-minute signal, okay. Then we shall wrap it up.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move to enter into executive session under Mass General Law 30A, Section 21-3, to discuss strategy relating to collective bargaining with the Town Hall Union and under Choice 2 to conduct contract negotiations with the Mendon Permanent Fire Unions Local 4936. A roll call vote is needed. The meeting will reconvene only to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Goddard, aye.
Tenio, aye.
Real, aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.